So next on my bench is this Crown CDi1000. This is a power amplifier, one of Crown's line of amplifiers. This one's only 1,000 watts, but 500 watts per channel. You can do monoblock configuration to put it into get 1,000 watts monoblock, and even if I believe you can do different, like with 8 ohm speakers, 4 ohm, and this will actually drive a 2 ohm load speaker, and I think the specs for it are 1,500 watts into 2 ohms monoblock configuration, but don't quote me on that. eBay find for parts repair. I picked it up for a decent price. The seller sent it to me, good shipping. It came from Victoria, BC. It says it has a problem when you turn it on. It blinks a few times. I'll show you. Here, let's look at this. Plug it, turn it on. And it flashes a few times, and then it comes on. And then it clicks. And then it seems to be on. And it's got DSP off right now. And it seems like everything's working here. It just has a problem on startup. You saw the flash. And I have a feeling I know what it is. I have a feeling it's probably weak capacitors in the power supplies. But then we don't know until we open it up. But we'll get it going. And this isn't a home piece of gear. This is professional quality. It's something you'd find in a studio or a concert hall or a theater. Let's have a look at the back. It doesn't have standard inputs. It has they would be balanced inputs. 600 ohm, I would believe. I'd have to look at the owner's manual, but 2 non-standard inputs for home audio. It's got a USB port. I think that would be for monitoring the amplifier. You can control it from let's say you had a rack of these, 15 of them or so. You could have them all hooked in with a central console, and then you can control them from there. Power, made in USA, of course. So yeah, you have 2 channels, and then you can also configure it as a monoblock in the bridge mode. That's about it. Let's see if we can pop the lid off and see what we can do with this. Okay, first peek. Never seen a beast like this before. Foam block. And there's a foam pad here. I guess this is to help with airflow, because this is all blocked off here. The fan probably pressurizes this and blows air up front. Let me take you off the tripod and we'll have a look together. Okay, on the power input side we got some beefy common mode chokes, filter capacitors all around, a 20 amp fuse in there. This is pretty serious stuff. And it looks like here we have a beefy switch mode power supply transformer. This thing's huge. I've never seen one that big before. A couple of big cans there. What is this? 2700 microfarads at 200 volts. If that's that line, that's a hell of a wallop of energy. A couple relays. Looks like circuitry, control circuitry for the front panel. Looks like the front panel's a little lean on the electronics, so everything's probably on the main board. We have this huge block full of transistors and heat sinks, and I think Let me count the ways. Yes. So each block here has 4 transistors, 4, 8, 12, 16. And on the outputs, this I believe is all Class D amplifier. With all the, these would be your switch mode output transistors, all your inductor chokes. Or no, maybe those are capacitors. Yeah, they might be capacitors. And the inductor chokes. So, a lot going on here. We're going to have to figure out if this power supply here is failing in some way to see why it's having a hard time powering up. Big blob of capacitors here. Go through and test all these. I don't see anything obviously wrong with this. All the electrolytics look good. None of them are bulging, swelling, or leaking. So, Crown uses top end components in their gear. They don't take a chance with garbage manufacturers' components and have it risk failing and giving their bad name. You know, you got a piece of gear like this, you don't want it to fail in the middle of a concert or a show. So yeah, it's built to a spec and beyond what it needs to be. So let's I don't know what I'm going to do next. I guess check capacitors. So what I'm going to try first here is I have it plugged into the power. And I'm going to measure across the mains capacitors. It's kind of dangerous because there's a lot of voltage here and there's a lot of wallop if this ever gets shorted. But it won't get shorted, I'll guarantee you that. But I just don't want to get electrocuted. So I'm going to put the probes on that there. And I'm going to turn it on and we're going to see how this climbs up. So here we go. So it's sat at 80 some volts. I think that was a relay that clicks in to help charge the capacitors without the huge inrush of current. And there is a PTC device here that's in line with the mains to the caps to keep the inrush current at a reasonable level. But so let's see this side here. 170 volts. So I just want to try this one more time just to see how it starts up. I'm beginning to think it's that inrush current limiting resistor. Let's turn it on right now. It does the same thing, up to 84 volts. And then it clicks in high gear. It wasn't doing that flashing thing, was it? I wasn't paying attention. Let's try one more time. No, it does this. It's a normal startup. Okay, I was just on eBay and I was looking at these Crown amplifiers for sale, just to get a sense of what they're selling for on the used market. And there was one there in particular. It said it had a known fault repaired and it was serviced. And I went into the product description and it said that there's a known fault with these and it's called C196 goes bad, which prevents the unit from starting up. And I kind of thought, you know, it's kind of a coincidence. I got an amplifier here, same thing, It's got the same kind of issue, startup issue. Even though I really don't see a startup issue, I see it starting up normally. But the capacitor they're talking about is C196, and that's this one here. There's a little capacitor here, and it's right beside this bank of resistors, and you can see the heat scorching here from these 6 resistors and these 3 transistors. Now, this is the only area on this amplifier where you see any heat damage or heat scorching like that. Everything else is pretty good. And you know, I wanted to comment that if you look at the rest of this, here, I'll just widen up. If you look at the rest of this, it looks very clean. Like, this is an amplifier that has a fan, and in professional rack use, you'd think it'd be sucked full of dirt and dust, but it's not. So let's get in there and change that capacitor. Alright, I got the main board out, and I'm going to check the capacitor. I got my ESR meter here zeroed. You can see that, that's good. Capacitor is right here. And let's see what we got for a reading. Can you see that? And we got, doesn't even register on my ESR meter, so it's pretty much a dried up cap. Yeah, so I'll take that out. It's a 220 microfarad, 35 volts. And I'll replace that. But I'm going to check some of these other ones. There's caps all over here, and I just want to make sure that they're all good. So I'll go through and check ESR on all these. I'll replace this one. What I would like to do, well, I'm going to be replacing this cap. Pull this out of the way. I'm going to be replacing this cap. And I'll check all these solder connections around here. There's some surface mount transistors and ICs. Make sure that they're all good. And I got a bank of 6 resistors here. These are voltage dropping resistors. And I went in the service manual and looked. And these are 48.7K. Don't ask me why. But 1 watt resistors. And I think they're getting too hot. If this is a known fault to this amplifier, what I like to do is replace these with 2 watt resistors instead of 1 watt, and it would make them sit taller. They would still dissipate the same amount of heat, but they would be a bigger physical, have a bigger physical body to them, so they dissipate heat better, and they probably run cooler. But I went online, looked 48.7K resistors at 2 watts, sorry. A special order device, and I'd have to order 5,000 of them to get a number on those. So I think we'll just leave those alone for now. They're kind of turning to dust. If you look, I touch them with the paint's falling off. So I think they're overstressed. I would like to see 2 watt resistors in there, but doesn't look like I'll be able to do it. I don't understand why they have such a specific ohmic value. They're just if you look at the circuit, it's just a resistance divider, and it drops the B plus voltage down to like a 30 volt value, I think, probably for this circuitry. But okay, let's get this is an 85 degree cap too. I don't understand why they put an 85 degree cap there, but we'll get this changed out. So just in case you're curious, that's what that 220 microfarad cap measures at, less than 7, and it's got a 150 ohm ESR. I think it's getting worse as it cools down, because I just desoldered it. Now it's, yeah, that cap is fried. So going through with the ESR meter, I checked all 15 or so. There's 3 on this side, and there's about 12 or whatever on this side, and they all have high ESR, probably double what they're supposed to be. So I'm just going to go through and replace all these, because I don't think they're supposed to be like that, and it can only help the amplifier out. Not much else to talk about. It's a nice design. I don't think it's seen a lot of hours though, because the dust is not there. But obviously the caps are showing their age, so it must have some kind of hours on it. And we'll go through and replace these now. Alright, we got the caps replaced. And we're about to do our Powerup test. Let's try it out. Okay, you know what I did wrong? I forgot to plug in the front panel. Let me try this one more time. Okay, try it one more time. Seems to be working fine now. I don't know if this is normal. This preset is flashing. Preset 20. I don't know if you can see any of this. It looks like I'm just going monkeying around with the menu here. Stereo next. Input Y. Stereo. What is that? I think we got a runner result. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll get a dummy load on this, and we'll see if we can come out the back. I know I don't have a 1,000 watt dummy load, but I should be able to scrape get a couple 100 watts here. Okay, we got it all hooked up, dummy load. I'm only going to do one channel right now. We'll do an 8 ohm load on one channel just to see how it's working. I got it hooked up to a RMS voltmeter, and I got it hooked up to a scope. See the output. Let's turn it on. And we got 2 clicks. And I think we're on. Now let's start feeding it some amplitude. Get my scope set up. We're getting some output. Right now I'm at 6 volts RMS. Let's keep cranking it up. Okay, I'm on the max. I'm on the max for the front gain control. Let's start feeding it some. I'm at 900 millivolts, 1 volt. I'm at 2 volts input, and I'm at 23.3 volts RMS output. Actually, my scope is not going to track this very good. I gotta put. There we go. At 3 volts input. .5 RMS out. Let's keep going. This thing's got tall legs. .9 volts output RMS. You can start to hear things straining. .60 volts RMS output. Starting to smell some. Yeah, that's my heat sink is starting to stink. Yeah, that's hot. Wow. So we'll let that cool off. Turn this down. Yeah, it's working. I don't know what the limits are. I don't want to burn out my resistors and do any damage that way. Let's try the other channel. He wants to fly away. It's like a drone. Okay, this time we're going with a 4 ohm load. I got these 2 resistors wired in parallel, so we're gonna do a torture test on the one channel. Let's turn it on. Same arrangement. I got a oscilloscope and vacuum or true RMS voltmeter on the output, so I can monitor the output. And let's start cranking it up. Okay, we're at 23.2 volts RMS out, 3 volts input. I got 35.4 output. Ooh, she's humming now. 4 volts input, 46.7 out. Okay, I got, hang on. I turned it up to 5 volts. I got 48.9 out, but I'm getting, looks like I'm getting clipping or distortion. So I'm going to turn it down. Yeah, the clip light's coming on. Ooh. I smell something. I think that's just my heat sink still. I got some fresh compound on there, so maybe that's what I'm smelling. But let's keep going until oh, the little fan's going to start turning on. So I don't think I did get a peak on that. A little bit of a sweat. Let's turn it back on. Let's see if I can get a peak where it starts clipping. Right there, I think. 47, 48.5, 49 volts RMS out. Yeah, it's starting to get hot. Shut that off. Let it cool. Okay, I moved everything over to channel 2, or sorry, channel 1, because I tested channel 2 first. And I'm just going to connect everything up, confirm, make sure it works. I have no doubts it does, but just to make sure the test is thorough, because if I give this to, sell it to somebody, I don't want to have it die within a week or a day, or anyhow. But yeah, this side got quite hot. This heatsink got quite hot. This one stayed ice cold. These are the outputs. A little tiny Class D amplifier. I would hook it up in bridge mode, but two things. I'd have to reconfigure the amplifier from the front panel, which I don't really understand how to do. I could probably sit down and figure it out. But I'd probably also explode my two little resistors here that are sweating away. These are just 100 watt resistors, two of them, and they're heat sinked to a chunk of aluminum finning. So I don't think that would survive bridge mode, even though I'd like to try it out, but we won't do that. Okay, so we're feeding it a 40 hertz signal. Right now I got 11.5 RMS output, so let's start jacking it up. Two and a half volts input, 29.1 out. That's in a 4 ohm load. Four volts input, 46.9 out. And I think you're going to start to see clipping right away here. There, right there, you can start to see distortion. Right at about 4.9 volts input, 49.2 out RMS. I think that's at its limit. Yeah, we're starting to get right here. Distortion. And that's at 4.7. Somewhere around there. 48.4 output. Yeah. And that's getting, heatsink's getting quite hot. He's sweating a little bit. Turn that off and let it cool. So I'll wrap this up here now. The amp's working. Works great. It's almost a shame to sell this. But I really don't have a use for a 1,000 watt amplifier in my house. But yeah, it's a nice piece of gear. So I'll just wrap this up, cover it up, and it's ready to go. Thanks for watching.